What's up, guys? A week ago, I finished up one of my worst losing weeks that I've ever had. In total, I ended up losing about $8,000. Oh, and one puppy, just about. Now, it's not the end of the world, but obviously stuff like that sucks pretty bad. And if you're going to be a pro, if you're going to keep playing the game, sometimes you got to figure out how to deal with stuff like that. So, this episode, we're going to talk about it. At the end of this week, I was really bummed out. And honestly, I think it's tough for anyone not to be bummed out. But really, at the end of the day, I had a 4-step process that I followed to get myself back in the game. And my 4 steps were basically to, 1, take some time off. 2, be honest about my results and why I was having those results. 3, to make a plan for what I was going to do in the future. And 4, act on that plan. So let's go over each of those steps a little bit more and talk about those. So the first step to getting back to winning again is going to be to take some time off. And everyone that's good that does this, or everyone that is good does this, you should do it too. Here's the bottom line. You can't make good decisions if you have a shitty mindset, okay? And really, if we were going to talk about poker and rename poker, poker is just make good decisions, right? Doesn't sound as sexy as poker, but that really is the name of the game if we were thinking about it. So if you're irritated, if you feel like you can't win, if you're a little depressed, if you just feel like you've gotten beaten too much, you're not going to make good decisions. You're not going to have a healthy mindset. So take some time off. It can be 5 minutes. It can be half an hour. It can be 3 hours, a day, a week, a year, 6 months, whatever you need. But until you have a good mindset, you're not doing yourself any favors playing. Take some time off. Now, I took 5 days off this time. And let me tell you, it wasn't all bad. I got to do some pretty fun shit. What fun shit, you ask? I got to witness firsthand how Eli Manning is feeling right now about playing for the New York Giants. I got to play some video games. My Stardew Valley farm has never looked better. Do you know how many statues of Endless Fortune I have now? 3. And finally, I also did get to do some studying and review some of the hands I played to figure out where some of my leaks were. So that was really good stuff. So, step 2, be honest about your results. Now, what I always tell people is, if you can't look at a mountain, then chances are you're going to have a pretty hard time climbing it. Sometimes it sucks to look back at things and to be very critical of yourself and to be hard on yourself and, to face some of the mistakes you might have been making. But if you're going to improve, it's going to be one of the most important things you can do. Now, poker obviously is a pretty complicated game, right? Hole cards are hidden. There is not a whole lot of information that's spread around. There's tons of mistakes that people are making all the time, and it's not always easy to recognize them. Some of the ones that there's a general group that I like to point out a lot of the time. And if you're having suffering results, usually what I point to is, are you playing too loose? Are you playing too passive? Okay? So first thing, too loose, right? If you're playing too many hands, then chances are that your equity is not going to be good enough to be playing them, right? And it's going to come full circle, but the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a range disparity, right? So you're going to basically be wandering into most hands, losing a quarter of a big blind, losing a tenth of a big blind, whatever it is, right? So that's your first mistake. Now, it compounds because you're doing this frequently, right? If you're playing loose, obviously, the repercussion is that you're playing a lot of hands. So you're frequently playing these hands where you're losing a quarter of a big blind, a tenth of a big blind, and it's happening a lot. What a lot of people fail to recognize is that, you see people on TV who are playing a lot of hands, and they're starting to get away with it, and, they sometimes they make some big plays, and they have the chance to, maybe turn a hand where they're losing a quarter of a big blind into a hand where, not only are they making money on that initial hand, but they're advertising a little bit, and they're making money on future hands because, people think their range is not what it is. Okay? But if you are, in fact, playing too loose, one of the issues is that you don't get the opportunity to make these plays. So you think you can make these plays, But then it turns out that all of a sudden you have, raised or called or whatever, and you end up with a straight draw and you miss it. You're at the bottom of your range, and you talk yourself into saying that your range is strong here, when maybe in fact it isn't. Maybe in fact your opponents have noticed that you're playing looser than you think you are, and they look you up in a spot where you don't think they should have looked you up. And you have this deal where now your hand that you were losing a quarter of a big blind on is something that you're losing like 5 big blinds on, right? And it has completely ruined your hourly. It's completely ruined your mindset. It has completely ruined your image at the table, and you're in a trap. So be careful about playing too loose. It leads to all kinds of problems, and if you are struggling, I would check that first. Second thing I always point to, playing too passively. Okay, and I won't go as in depth into whatever the concept of playing too passive, but I'm sure everyone on this channel has heard it before. The recipe for winning: tight and aggressive. Okay, and there are 2 parts to it, I assure you. But basically, the main hang-up on playing too passively is that if you're not betting your hand strong enough, you're going to give too many free cards. People are going to end up showing up with too much of their equity. And another repercussion of it is going to be that you're going to develop a type of image where people are going to draw at you more, and they're going to draw at you earlier because they know that there's a higher chance that they're going to get free cards, or that if you're just not betting enough, that they're going to get odds to draw to things, and then you're going to be put in tough spots later where you're going to have to make big calls. And a lot of the time, if you're making a big call in the end, if you hadn't bet enough or you didn't bet at all, then any advantage you had early in the hand is going to be negated by the fact that you're not playing aggressive enough. So check those 2 things. Now that we're done with the first 2 steps, let's move on to our third step, making a plan. Now, you're going to have to really do this yourself, but some things that I would recommend that you include in your plan are some goals for how long you want your sessions to be, okay? Because you might have discovered some leaks in terms of playing too long, playing too short, whatever. You should get some goals in terms of how many hours a week you want to be playing. Consistency really, it doesn't always seem like it can improve things and, dispel some of the chaos that you've been experiencing, but it really can. A plan probably should include taking some sporadic breaks to review hands, and I definitely think that you should also include in your plan what you want to be doing to review afterward. Okay, I'm going to go through some of the things that I did with my plan, and then we'll move on to our action, our result. So one of the first things in my plan was that I noticed I was feeling very, very uncomfortable with my money situation. Now, what had happened was obviously I'd lost a lot of money, and you have to bring cash to the casino to play with it. But also at the same time, I have some money that was loaned out. Now, this made me pretty uncomfortable because I had a relatively small amount of money, a small amount of $100 bills at the house, and readily available to play. Made me super uncomfortable. So my first step in my plan was to try and get some of this stuff back. I mean, it was out to good people, but let's run around and get some of this stuff. So first thing we did was I had some British pounds. Obviously, you can't buy in with those at the casino, so we converted our British pounds. Next, whatever, I made some phone calls, shot out some text, and also, people were reaching out to me, and I was kind of nonchalant about it in the past, trying to meet up with them and stuff. So went ahead and got some stuff back from them. That was the result there. After that, I decided to diversify a little bit. One of my buddies has been talking to me a lot about playing online at Global Poker. Said it was really soft. Said that you could get a lot of hands in online. Also that I'd probably have the opportunity to review stuff and just be able to break down hands on the spot as opposed to waiting until later if I was at a live table. So put some money on Global Poker. Started playing on there. So far so good. And one of the last parts of my plan was to just drop down in the stakes, basically. I'd had really, really volatile results at 2-5 and above, and just not crazy about them. Obviously, the competition's a little bit tougher. The games are a little bit more aggressive, so you're going to have bigger swings. These were just driving me out of my mind, I figured out. So decided to drop down in stakes and just maintain some consistency. This past week, I've just been playing 1-2. Online, I'm playing like 50 cents in a dollar. I can't tell you how much less stressful it is to have like a swing of, $500 as opposed to swinging like $2,000. For me, that was perfect, and the things that it did to my mindset were and have been totally worth it to just drop down in stakes and leave some of the stress at the door. That said, I guess we're full circle back to the fourth part of our plan, which is act on your plan, okay? Just get up and execute. So this week, been playing 10-hour sessions, been getting to come home and check the lobby on Global. If there are good games, I'm hopping on there. If not, whatever, I get to relax a little bit. But, put in your hours, put in your volume. Been exercising a little bit more, stuff like that. But, just stick with these things. And that's what's going to be important, Even if it turns out that you were on a bad downswing and now you're executing your plan, you're doing all these things I said, and you're still not having the results you want, stick with your plan. And, you can make adjustments to it, but don't be defeated, okay? You can have a setback. You can be in the hole a little bit, and even though that sucks, basically the moral of the story that I want you to take away is that doesn't need to be the end-all be-all of it, okay? There will be brighter days. The cards will turn around eventually. You're not always going to be the person that is the most unlucky at the table. Give it time, and you will be that person, once again, who is the person that's running better than anybody else, right? It's just a 1 in 9, 1 in 10 chance that you show up and you're that person any given day. So keep your head up, work hard, be honest, and things are going to get better at some point. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. I haven't done a video in a while. I'm going to try and do some more, I think, probably some live global poker sessions, I think, which I think could be interesting. I'm multi-tabling on there, so even though I fold a lot, I think that there's a good chance for some good action. And obviously, every once in a while I decide to call off with third pair, so that's pretty exciting when it either goes wrong or goes right, and then I feel great about it, or whatever, the trolls feel great about it the other way, so I feel great, the trolls feel great. So the possibilities for that coming up. Also, I might go the Doug Polk route, the old DP route, and maybe do a bankroll challenge on Global. I think that'd be a good motivation and, just a good way to generate some funds and also have fun at the same time. But anyway, that's just a look into the future and what might be coming up. If you've been supportive so far, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you soon, guys. Have a great day. Get out of that downswing. Later.